Look around the city you live in. What do you see? More crowds, more traffic, more potholes, and more filth with every running year. Visit a city, though, which you haven't for the last 10 years, and you're also surprised by the change of its landscape. You perhaps will find it difficult to recognize the routes, the roads, the localities anymore. That's the duality of India's urban process. Our city's population is growing at an astounding pace. Infrastructure is growing, but not at the pace it should. And civic amenities are crumbling under the weight of it all. Welcome everyone to the debate that affects each one of you, India's urbanization challenge. My panel today comprises of India's leading think tanks on this subject matter. Dr. Shirish Sankhe, Director, McKinsey Company. On my left, Ritu Anand, Group Head and Chief Economist, IDFC. Samir Jasuja, CEO and Founder of PropEquity. And Pranay Vakil, Chairman, Knight Frank, India. Ritu and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining in. We'll also bring you the views of the policy maker with a pre-recorded interview of Dr. Sudhir Krishna, Secretary, Urban Development. Before that, the choices India makes to manage the process of its urbanization will have profound consequences for its people and its economic future. This is the opening statement of the McKinsey Global Institute report titled India's Urban Awakening, Building Inclusive Cities, Sustaining Economic Growth. I'm going to use some of the statistics from this report to set a framework for our discussion. And look at these figures. By 2030, 590 million people, almost 600 million people to the latest estimate, will live in cities of India. This is twice the current population of the United States. 68 cities in the country will have a population of 1 million plus. All of Europe has 35 cities with a population of million plus. 70% of net new employment will be generated in cities of India. 700 to 900 million square meters of new residential and commercial space needs to be built. That's like building a Chicago every year. 2.5 billion square meters of roads will have to be paved. 7,400 kilometers of subways and transport routes will have to be constructed. And this is the staggering figure, $1.2 trillion, almost 60 trillion rupees of capital will be required to meet the needs of urbanization in India. So if those figures haven't been eye-popping, I'm worrying what is. Shirish, figures from the report, which has almost become a Bible for India's urbanization and a future outlook to it. Tell me, the figures say a big story or tell a big story, but why do you think it's so critical for policymakers to focus on urbanization?
See, when we were studying this report, systematically ignored urbanization. In fact, we almost closed our eyes and hoped urbanization does not happen.
Or it will happen automatically.
Right. All it will happen automatically on an ad hoc basis, right? Even today, the words that are used like migration should be controlled, right? So there is almost an anti-urban bias in the policymakers. And even if you look at rural plus urban together, you have to recognize, and some of the data that you may not have mentioned is that 85% of taxes, which all go to rural India, or many of them go to rural India, come from cities. And a number of jobs, employment, GDP, all will come from cities. Of course, rural is very important, but rural and urban has to be managed together. And going from some like 30% or 30% of urbanization to 80% of urbanization, that process is going to happen. US was at 30% in year 1900. Today it's at 90%, and all countries have gone through that process, right?
So it's going to happen. You have to urbanize. That's exactly what's going to lead your economic growth as well.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app, fully optimized for retina display, full screen view, faster response time, and Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.